Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit's Homebrew. Joining me today is Brent from Langeministudio as we talk about Call of Cthulhu and other tabletop RPGs in preparation for Halloween season. So anyone that is a heavy horror movie watcher like me, and they're like, how is this person falling for this? These are all the stereotypical movie tropes. I would be totally doing something different in real life. No.
And the thing is that we as an audience have the luxury of knowing you're in a horror movie. You know there's a ghost in the end because we saw the preview. You know, like that you have that luxury. You have to take your mindset out of that and go, this character doesn't know they're in a horror movie. They think this is a slice of life.
Yeah, this is their life.
Yeah, so like, oh, why is my breaker box
And
down?
you're playing a private investigator or a former cop as well.
Yep.
And you're a skeptic, so you're just on a job.
Yeah, I'm on a job, yeah.
You have never been introduced to the supernatural.
Nope.
And like you are a former law enforcement person.
Yep.
So it's a little bit easier to slide into this character, and I knew it would.
Yeah.
I knew you would probably choose this character. It's half the reason why I wrote it the way it was.
Yeah.
And even like, let's say you were, actively back at being that law enforcement officer. You would have never saw that. If you're out basically doing a call and you get a domestic disturbance call, we'll say, for a random example, you ain't going to think, oh, ghosts.
No.
Or you're thinking, you get a call, there's a bunch of kids like running around this abandoned property, but I own this this abandoned house, but I own this property.
It's like, oh, okay, there's a bunch of kids in there just like drinking or doing drugs or just being kids,
You and a partner would go and check that out.
Yeah,
not thinking, it's haunted.
Yeah, we would search the whole place looking for kids to get them out, and anything that's broken or whatever or out of place would just get chalked up to, oh, that's just because of the kids, until stuff started happening.
Yep.
Then you're like, oh, okay, what's up?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. There's that luxury of that forethought and that meta that you think of, but you've got to kind of put that aside and go, this person doesn't know this is Cthulhu.
Yeah.
They don't know.
And
yet.
Like, for the people that think that we're just on this major side tangent talking about our own games, we're not. I actually am getting to my big final point, or not final point, but of that's building the atmosphere in a horror.
Yep.
And that is the biggest thing you can build, as opposed to like a fantasy game where you're kind of building this plot and moving it right along with like, especially in 5th edition, that's a little more super erotic. Like you're building, that maybe not linear, but you're building that storyline and ramping that up little by little with like a horror RPG or TTRPG, or you're building that atmosphere. You're ratcheting it up still, but it's more of an atmosphere thing as opposed to just a strict storyline.
Yeah. Like with any horror movie or video game, unless there's very few games that start out in the middle of the supernatural horror weirdness, unless it's to put the viewer on edge.
Yeah.
And it only lasts and even then it only lasts like maybe 5-10 minutes. Like it's the first kill. So that you as the viewer know there's something going on to build that atmosphere of tension and danger. But then it goes in and now it's sunny Monday morning and the kids are getting ready for school and we're making breakfast and it's all Leave It to Beaver.
That is like when I've played a horror video game, I think probably the different, how do I word this? For me, like when you're playing that type of horror video game and you do that opening quest and it's dark and it's gritty and then you finish it and then it cuts to them going back to their normal lives and it's that bright.
Yeah.
So anything you just said is like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, this is setting an atmosphere.
Yeah, it's setting a tone. And that's the real, and if the good ones know how to do that just right, because you don't want to go too heavy-handed.
No.
But then you don't want to go too light either, because then you're like, what was that?
No, you don't. If you go real heavy with it, you're going to go campy.
Absolutely.
But you don't want to hold back.
No. There's a really fine line, and that's what makes horror, like setting the atmosphere of horror, so important and yet almost the most difficult thing. But once you figure it out, it's beautiful. And it doesn't even have to be perfect. Just close, and you're good.
As opposed to like Dungeons and Dragons, which we usually do talk about, there are plenty of times like where Chase has mentioned, am I going too far with this? Or like me as a dungeon master, is this going too far? Sometimes with a horror RPG, you're going to question the same thing, but you want to like take it that one step, because even if they're uncomfortable, that's what you're trying to achieve. And if anyone that's coming into your table, obviously you have that, that session wrap of like, hey, there are a couple trigger moments in this just to warn you. I know, and if you don't know the person, then you blatantly warn them. It's like, this will have themes of this, and this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does that trigger you at all?
Is any of this like a hard no? Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise than that, I'm going to tell you we're going to deal with themes of this, and it might go one step beyond. Mm-hmm. Yep. Not nothing that's
I'm not going to get creepy or
cringe.
Way too much detail.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, wow, you thought about this. I'm worried about you now.
Yes. But that's building that atmosphere. Exactly. Like you mentioned, the dim lighting or the single spotlight.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're playing like ambient soundtracks and all that sort of stuff, which music, as I found out, especially because I have now a TV mounted up on my wall, or I have been playing it through my laptop with a Bluetooth speaker at different points, it does add.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Especially with Dungeons and Dragons, it especially does, but during like the Call of Cthulhu games, like when I was playing like the old timey music, or like just kind of the gothic horror type overall ambient music, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It helps set the mood more, and that's what you're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. Just to help ramp up the tension. It helps if you can, because it's supposed to like a fantasy game where you're part of the story. You're trying to make the characters in the story. You have to really, to achieve that horror feeling, you have to push it as far as you can to get the characters in the story. Now, you might not always get that, because there's those horror people like me that just like, I've seen it all. It might be a little harder to get someone like me involved, but at the same time, I'm going to be probably the first one to buy in totally. It's like, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Vampires?
I know what's coming, but I'm here for it. Yeah.
Some of the ways you can do that, though, is like narrative techniques and the way you do it. And that's part of the reason why I only do Call of Cthulhu one-shots. I don't know if I could handle a weekly game, because I am a big horror movie fan. Anyone that knows me knows this. So I put a lot of thought and effort into the atmosphere. The start of the second one shot, you guys are driving to this Great Gatsby party. Like, I handed you literally a newspaper handout of the day of, explaining just like what your mental mind frame is. The stock market car crash. Mm-hmm. You're worried about this. Vicky's character, after the first one shot, had written a book about it. It took off. Mm-hmm. And then Chase's character, who's the naysayer professor, wrote his own book and countermanded her.
Pretty much undermining everything she did.
She said, and then his sold.
Yeah.
Which created, they're married in real life, so I knew, but it created that tension a little bit in character, or at least out of character, between them. And like, you, what?
Yeah, you did what? How are you going to torpedo me like that? Yeah.
And then Tove's character, who was this kind of cat burglar, she was, I think, she was married, but they were a married cat burglar type situation. They're doing cons, or they're trying to do jobs.
Sometimes they would work together. Sometimes they wouldn't.
Yeah, her marriage was on the outs.
Yep, they were.
I wanted to set that, basically, except for Chase's character, who was the only one that was being successful because he was the rich one.
Yep.
I wanted to present that opening theme because the stock market just crashes. Like, things, despite you surviving the last adventure and doing good, you're going to this party because you've invited, and this guy has promised to pay you, and you guys all know him through one way or another, but you guys are kind of down and out. even though you guys have succeeded.
Yeah, you're surviving, but you're starting to wonder about your day-to-day.
Your day-to-day,
Yep.
and you're wondering about the future because the stock market just crashed, and all of this is happening, and now this rich guy is trying to contact you to come to his party, and he's like Vicky's publisher, or he was actually Chase's publisher as well, ironically. Or
He owned what? He owned 2 different publishing houses or something like that?
he owned the same publishing house. He
The
just
same one. Okay,
yeah.
the same one. All right.
It's
even better.
It's the soda company that competes with each other, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Or for Tove, she'd fenced a couple of items into his
Illicit
private
items. Yeah,
into his private collection.
exactly. Yeah.
Or I can't remember how I got you with
I
them.
don't remember how. Yeah, I don't remember how my character got roped in. Yeah, not important.
But at the same time, it might have been these 3 people that, besides the professor, who's become the outcast a little bit, but he's still invited.
Yeah.
And his student, who's like an NPC that I've invited along because they're lovers.
He's back in the day when this was very, very common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't common. That was part of the thing. It was taboo of the student that fell for the teacher, but they're both homosexual. And
the homosexual part.
yes,
But-
it was very taboo, and they were living together because the student had basically quit college to be with him, and it was also his TA.
Okay. Yep. Jeez. Oh, Professor Plum.
Yes. Oh, that was the other fun part. Was his name was Peter Plum,
Peter
and then
Plum,
I
yeah.
was after that first one shot, because he was playing the profession a professor. He Chase looked at the thing. He was like, "Okay, my name's Peter Plum. Oh, I'm a professor." And it took him a solid 5 seconds. You made me Professor Plum.
Maybe Professor from Clue. Yes.
Yes.
That was great. Oh, that's great.
And I go, and you're gay.
Yeah.
And we're all open-minded.
Yeah,
we know each other. And he's just like,
Care.
hey,
Yeah.
I'll roll with it. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll roll with it. Sure.
That as long as that ain't my defining characteristic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like,
You
there's
know.
other stuff going on, right?
Once again, that's setting up the atmosphere for that. It's like you're going to this well-to-do place. I just am, for my viewers listening, I'm really just trying to drive home setup and atmosphere is everything for this
if you're
game.
trying to do
This
effective
genre.
horror.
It's not even this game, this genre. I encourage you guys to use props if you can. I think I used actual handwritten notes or whatever
Yep,
from the
you
first
did.
one.
You did, yeah.
In the second one, I handed out newspapers of like the day of, like I mentioned, just to kind of help doing that. I've seen people in one shots. Critical Role does a wonderful one shot of the Crystal Palace. I can't remember.
Crystal Palace, yeah.
Yes.
It's the there's like a cat show going on
And all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's taking place during the World's Fair.
Yeah,
if I
and
remember.
and that's I got to hand it to Talos and Jaffe for doing it. He did research for like all the a lot of the world stuff they talk about in that game actually happened, and he set it up to where this could have happened. If thinking about it and just suspending your disbelief for that little bit. Of course, this didn't happen, but it lined up with the history so well that it fit.
So you could use creepy tapes. In that first one shot we just got done talking about, when the radio turned on, I had my Spotify up and ready on my phone and my volume turned up, and every time that radio turned on, I turned on my Spotify to that song.
Yep.
And that, I think, even drove it home to be even creepier for Brent, because he literally got to hear the song.
It's the same song from the same point. I'm like, okay, this is intentional.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
And-
intelligent.
But even that's in character, but even from a character point of view, that made you buy into the scene even further. And
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why that's the first time I ever seen you actually be creeped out at the table. Usually most of the monsters during D&D, you're all like, whoa, yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
That
I'm excited.
creepy-
They're like, yeah, let's go do it. But
Yeah. Oh, creepy tentacle aberration. Let's do it.
yeah, and that's the thing. And that's I find out what gets me more is not it's not the zombies that get me. Like, yeah, you can get the body horror going where, oh wow, that's disgusting. Okay, but I can put a shotgun to its head and I just blew it away. I'm good. If a gun can fix the problem, generally it doesn't scare me. but it's the stuff that's not. Like, there was a scene, and I want to say it was the movie Mama, to where the two cops are in the house, and it's dark or whatever. Maybe it wasn't Mama. Whatever one where she couldn't be in light. And to where if there's like if there's any sort of light, she couldn't exist. But if it was in the dark, she was there.
I don't know that one.
I have to ask.
Off the top of my head, I don't know that one. That one sounds interesting, though.
But yeah, it really got to me because they were in the house. The two cops were in the house, and the power is off. So this monster, this ghost monster woman, is in the house, and it charges down the hallway at one of the cops. The cop pulls their gun, and the editor did so good with this scene to where the cop was firing rounds off. The muzzle flash from the gun was making her disappear. But the second the muzzle flash went away, she was back and was still moving forward. To where the cop fired like 5 or 6 rounds, and she just kept going boom, 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 just disappear. But
Great
every time
cinematography
was coming, yeah, perfect. But every shot, she was getting closer and closer and closer, and finally ended up getting to the cop and killing them. They couldn't do anything to stop it because their primary weapon was making her immune to the damage. Because when it flashed, the bullet would just whiz by where she was, and she wasn't there. So it was really good for for that, setting that up, and that creeped me out because now the thing that modern humanity like clings to for defense or for offense, a firearm, is now absolutely completely useless. You have to do something else.
I think you did that in the end of when you were down in the basement of that first one. You're the one firing off a fire round.
Yeah.
Against what was down there.
Yeah, I was dumping rounds into that thing, and
it had a damage resistance.
Yeah, it was shrugging them off. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he had a
revolver or something.
They had I don't know if it was a he or it.
Yeah.
Had a good amount of HP and damage resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And the way Cthulhu works, you do that contest or whatever, and if you hit, then you roll the damage, and then
it can soak it, or
it has like a damage resistance of that. I'm not cool. I'm still fuzzy on the combat of Call of Cthulhu, but that's not the thing to focus on.
No, absolutely not.
I want to focus on that a little bit more, just because I want to be able to implement that, especially in our because I have a third adventure planned, and that's half the reason why we haven't done it so far is I'm still doing research.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I want to set up that atmosphere, especially because I've told you guys, it's listen, if we're doing this third one, this is the final one for...
It's the capstone of the trilogy.
It's the capstone of I hate to sound like a film director or anything, but in my vision of these characters you've played for these past 2 years, this is the capstone for these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they survive or not, or whatever happens, I have little endings kind of written out of what I want to happen, unless you guys want to say different, but this is it.
Yeah.
Unless, further down the line, a studio pays me more than enough money to write a fourth.
Don't look at me like that.
You're hearing me sponsors on this program.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
We each went to the Call of Cthulhu, basically their version of the monster manual, and we each rolled up a D100. We did it a couple of times because we kept rolling for random items instead of monsters.
Yeah, I kept getting weapons. No, I don't want that.
Although it's still good, it would be...
You could still use it.
It'd just be the MacGuffin.
Yeah, that's not the flavor we were going for.
But we tried to roll up 2 random monsters, and we're going to try and come up with a setup for a one-shot idea. And this is something you can do at home. You can do it even with Dungeons & Dragons. You can do it with any system. Take their monster manual, roll some dice, come up with 2 different monsters, and figure out why those 2 random monsters, even if they're, north and south pole opposites, figure out why they're there.
Yeah.
Because half the time when you do that sort of stuff, you come up with a really great story.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you could luck out and find a vampire and a werewolf. I don't know if there are vampires in Call of Cthulhu. I haven't looked that deep, but we can...
Actually, yes. The first thing on the page I'm looking at is the fire vampire, the burning stars.
Oh.
So, yes, there are vampires. At least the use of the word.
Me and Brent each rolled in the Call of Cthulhu monster manual. I think it's the first one or the second, because I got the box set of the deities and the monsters.
Volume 1, Monsters of the Mythos, Call of Cthulhu, Malleus Monstorum.
So we both, luckily, we don't have to too stretch of imagination here. We both rolled aquatic monsters.
Yeah, oddly enough.
Which I'm very happy with because we won't sit here umming and ahhing, and not too much editing will be involved of getting a lot of uhs out. So the one I rolled for was called, and it took 2 rolls because I rolled an item for one, and then I rolled this finally because we wanted to roll for monsters and like put an adventure together and try and kind of show you a good exercise of stretching that GM brain. I rolled the Dweller in the Depths, and I'll read this description to you guys, and then you guys will kind of get an idea of how really screwed up this thing is, because I read it and was like, ew. So, from an elliptical body, extended to 8 appendages, arm-like and ending in something akin to a flipper. Although 2 more like writhing tentacles, it appeared to use flippers for locomotion. Able to walk on land just as easily as swimming through the water, there is no head as such, rather a gross nodule on which a round sponge-like organ sprouted over a unwholesome layer of lattice-like thin flesh grew more like a spider's web more than anything else one could suggest. Directly beneath the sponge organ was a slit, a kind of mouth that extended across the half of the nodule. At the ends of the slit were 2 tentacle-like growths used to convey food directly into the mouth, where the rows of small tentacles, rather than teeth, could be seen. The damnable appearance was made worse due to the creature's transparent skin, although which one could discern bizarre internal organs, a spherical yet misshapen brain. They are also known as the Chosen of Cthulhu, the Deep Ones, the Sea Masters, or the Spawns of Hydra. Also, out of the rest of the kind of lore that's given about it, the thing that got me is this ending part, is their rubbery, half-gelatinous flesh grants immunity to most physical harm, as most elder ones do. And in death, a dweller's body quickly decomposes, leaving behind nothing more than a foul-smelling stain, which, when I read that, it harkened back to Supernatural when a shapeshifter sheds its skin. It's just that jelly, and the boys is...
Yeah. I think of, like, in the X-Files, I forget which one it is, to where that's the guy that he... Barlow? I don't remember. He is hunting people down and taking their livers. And he can like stretch and stuff like that.
The serial killer that he's almost like Pennywise from
and he like
every
hibernates.
30 years.
Yeah,
he comes back twice before they finally get him.
They get it, yeah. And Mulder and Scully find his nest that he's making, and Mulder's like, "What is this?" And he touches, there's like this brown like liquid, and Scully goes, "Mulder, I think that's bile." And he just looks at it. And he turns and looks at Scully and he says, "How quickly can I get this off my fingers without betraying my cool exterior?" And he just starts shaking his hand violently. I'm like, that it just brought that to mind, that there's this brown, oily junk. He's like, "What is this?"
That first scene in Ghostbusters where he touches the side and starts rubbing it against the library cards and all that. Like back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I described that in one of our games. I can't remember who. I was playing one of the NPCs and they touched like slime. I think it was Flint.
It was Flint.
And
yeah.
he's just like, I said, it's like that Peter Venkman where he's rubbing against the books and he's like, ugh.
Yeah, but he rubbed it on Merrick's back.
Yeah.
And it's like, "What are you doing back there? It's my armor." God damn it. Ugh. So yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're not.
He would, because he would not want to piss you off because he knows that you're a paladin.
Nah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. That's the we're talking about Call of Cthulhu here.
Yeah. So what did you roll?
I rolled the Fisher from the Outside. From outside they come to hunt. great and dark avian creatures with leprous veined flesh instead of feathers, and membranous wings on which they swoop like darting seabirds, plunging down into the ocean to hunt their prey. Immense things, characters of earthly birds, which hop about on a single foot when not in flight, while above a hooked and fanged-lined beak glows an all-seeing cyclopean eye, otherwise known as dark flyers, demon birds, devil skewers, pterodactyls, or slaughters. This one, they look like they're kind of servants of a great old one known as Groth-Golka. They are called down from the space between and beyond the stars. The fishers sometimes act as proxies, accepting and devouring human sacrifices, while also meting out divine will of their master. As such, cultists of Groth-Golka regard the fishes as manifestations of their god's will. And seeing a depiction, a carving, or whatever of these things seem to channel a little bit of that power of Groth-Golka, because if you look at one, either handling it or whatever, you can get sanity loss from looking at one of these idols of one of these things. So they seem to be like these horrible monsters, but they also do seem to exude a shard of a great old one's power.
It reminds me, and in my modern one-shot Cthulhu I did for my brother and sister, there was this sculpture that they had to go find of this like Aztec or Mayan like deep one. Mm-hmm. Come to find out, there was a deep one like monster, a god. Or that they worshipped, and I go, it's so heavily detailed that it looks like it could just come to life, like those. We talked about it previously on the podcast. Those Roman statues in Rome, where you literally see the veils on
the marble statues. You can see the skin underneath the cloth, and and at a quick glance, you would just think it's a person. Yeah, mm-hmm. These guys. Oh, those things are crazy.
Or if I heavily want to. If you guys really want to watch a good TV series for spooky season, and I know Brent would recommend this, it's Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix.
Yes.
There's 8 episodes of it. They haven't renewed it for a second season.
What?
Fortunately. I really wish they would, but it's been out for 2 years and it hasn't. But it is so Lovecraftian.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a scene, there's a particular episode, before we get on a side tangent, where they have it's the Crispin Glover episode, who plays the dad on Back to the Future, and he's this painter, and Ben Barnes is the actor, and that one is the main character, and he's painting these realistic, disturbing paintings that literally cause sanity loss by looking at them. Mm-hmm. And it's actually based after an H.P. Lovecraft actual short story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I cannot remember what it's called, but it's a good one. So that's what I think that's where they kind of get that inspiration from, is just that ability to look at something that's just so heavily detailed, but it's just unnerving. I can't imagine looking at the Mona Lisa or a Da Vinci or anything like that. So. I mean, there's a couple of spooky places around the Omaha area and the Council Bluffs area where they're like, oh, this is haunted, and then you go to it and I'm like,
this place? Yeah, really?
No. I remember Sam questioned me about Hummel Park, because there's this long stairway in that, and then she's like, well, there's a folklore tale. You can go up and down the stairs, and you can count the stairs, and they never are the same amount of stairs. At least out of my dozen experience of going up and down those stairs, which suck because they're so long, but they more remind me of a long stairway in Lord of the Rings than Moria along a hillside.
They did that in The Witcher, in the Witcher video games, to where you run across a circle of stones, and you talk to someone it's different if you walk around one way and if you walk around the other. And it was weird because I don't know how they programmed it. They did it to where I walked around and I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Where's the 9th one?
Where did the 9th one go? And that's the whole point of the quest, is you find out where the 9th one went, and it's a fey monster and all that fun shit. But I was like, you got. So I had to sit there and I go, you guys got me. Holy cow, you got me.
Okay, so let's use that as a buy-in for these two monsters. We're trying to stretch our
we're trying to
muscles,
get our brains moving. Yeah.
So let's use that. So let's say the investigators are called to investigate whether this is supernatural or not. There's a, let's say, either a circle of boulders or like, there's plenty of Americana where it's fake Stonehenges, like the Stonehenge car.
Oh yeah,
like
Carhenge, yeah.
yeah, there's Carhenge, or there's a couple of like other types of Stonehenges around America. Let's say they go to Middle America.
Let's do the Great Salt Flats.
Okay, it
Because
needs to be near
people-
water though.
Okay, the Great Salt Flats is right next to the Great Salt Lake because
Even better.
the Great Salt Flats, people will go out there and do stone art all the time. Like if you drive down I-80 and you're driving through the Salt Flats from Salt Lake City to Nevada, you will see sculptures and stuff out there. You'll see stone art of people putting like circles, and they'll do like little messages of, JB loves
So and so.
or, whoever, you'll see that all the time. So that could be something there. Then there's the Great Salt Lake that's pretty close. Well, I mean, geographically close.
Let's Google real quick. When was Salt Lake City founded? Just to make sure it was around in the 20s.
I believe it. It was way before that. It was Joseph Smith founded it. Wait, no, Joseph Smith died before that. Joseph Smith's successor to the Mormon faith.
Yeah. Founded in 1847. So it was so this is very plausible.
Okay, yeah, okay, plausible. Boom, there we go.
It's
All
been
right.
around for at least 80 years. It may not be as big.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a little more Old Westy of an adventure, which makes it even better so you can play on the isolation vibe.
Yep, there you go. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they're called out, and this is a nice one just because you can play with the isolation vibe. It isn't in Boston. It isn't the stereotypical East Coast. You're trying to go play, because I've looked at those as well, because I've wanted to play. I wanted to use, because we're in Omaha, I wanted to use 1920s Omaha for an adventure.
Yes.
It's a little harder to do, but it isn't at the same time. It's just a little more challenging. It's takes a little more DM muscles.
Okay, just looking at a map, you have Salt Lake City, and then just like right outside Salt Lake City to the northwest, you have the Great Salt Lake. Just beyond that, west of the lake and the city itself, is the Great Salt Flats. Theoretically, the Great Salt Lake was, some people say that it was a great inland sea for the United States when the tectonic plates shifted and the waters receded. There was still a salt inland sea in that part of what became the United States. Well, since then, the waters have receded and has left this massive salt desert. And I've been through it a couple of times, and I was the dumb tourist. I licked my finger, I stuck it to the ground, and then I licked my finger, and it's salty as hell. And it's white. It's like a brownish white.
All right, so let's say these creatures, because they're elder ones.
Yep.
They're Ice Age. They've been there since the lake receded and was part of the ocean.
Okay.
For a little background that the players wouldn't know, just for the GM to kind of set up that type of thing. So they've been there around for a while. Maybe they've just awoken. And then so they get called to investigate this. So should we involve cultists with this?
I'm thinking going with with Mine, the fisher from outside.
Yeah.
There's the cultists of Grothgolka. They regard them as the manifestations of their god's will. So let's just real quick. I believe Grothgolka is just a giant flightless pterodactyl.
So we have a flyer, and when we have like this gelatinous brain monster with tentacles, and that's aquatic. It's basically as fast on land as it is on water. So it's almost like a frog.
Yeah. Grothgolka, originally depicted as a giant flightless bird, worshipped as a deity in the story gods of Baal Sagoth.
Okay.
And according to the artwork that I'm seeing, it's like a cross between a dragon and like a bird, and it's so big and whatever that it can't fly.
So let's say these two creatures we'll go X-Files, like almost with it. It's like remnants of the Ice Age. They got left behind,
frozen, trapped in the ice.
Yeah, and they've recently, within the last year, come free.
Okay.
And started gathering worshippers.
Yeah, the Industrial Revolution kicked in, and it started spreading west, and then, all that fun stuff.
Something to welcome them.
And
Don't have to explain it.
No, doesn't matter.
Nope.
That's
unless the
fun part.
players really
Unless they really want to do a deep dive on it, which I don't know how they would figure it out that they've been around since the Ice Age. Unless they
literally just did what you did and figure out the Salt Lake was part of...
Yeah, and it would be more of like theories and conjecture anyway.
Yeah.
Because there wouldn't be any like hard evidence. So, okay.
So they're called to check these circle of stones that are said to be supernatural, because if you walk around them one way, then they're all tall pillars of salt that have appeared.
There you got double down on the salt flats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So pillars of salt that have magically appeared.
And that even lends to the biblical side of it, because Lot's wife, during the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, they're told to leave the city because it's going to get destroyed. Well, and they're told not to look back. Lot's wife looks back and sees God destroy the cities, and she's immediately turned into a pillar of salt.
Reminds me of like the Greek mythology story of like the guy that goes to get his wife, but was told by Hades not to look back or you lose your wife.
And he did.
And he does. And
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that could be like, these pillars could be pillars of salt, and they could be strangely humanoid shaped.
Okay, so we could go like the TV series Evil, but the church has contracted out one way or another your investigators to investigate whether this is biblical or just a random phenomenon of humanoid shapes.
Would we want to go the Church of Mormon, since that's what founded Salt Lake City, or do you want it to be, or we want it to be more
it'd either be the Church of Mormon or the Catholic Church.
Ooh, yeah, and the cultists could be a splinter sect.
Yeah, that or the Catholic Church, because they
don't like Mormons.
The Catholic Church has the money. And
yeah,
the Catholic Church likes to put their nose into everything.
Exactly. Okay, cool. All right, good enough.
The Vatican.
Yeah, because Jesus.
Okay.
I like it. I'm liking it so far.
So there's a good setup. So they go investigate this, find out, yep, you walk around it one way, it's 8 humanoids one way. You walk around it the other way, there's 9. You set up some sort of like little... We could have it set up to where they say this is the most effective at like dusk or dawn.
Yeah, like certain times of the day, it's fine. Like you'll go 8 and 8 or 9
and they can check
9.
that during the day.
Yeah,
and they're like, okay, let's go check this.
But a specific time of the day is when it's different. Yeah,
and that's when you set it up. That's right on the edge of the Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you have that little setup of tension of like something in the lake.
Yes, there we go. Yep.
Or something up in the sky, the shadow of that pterodactyl.
Yeah, they'll see a
very large bird type looking
a large looking bird.
But it doesn't look like a bird.
Quite right. Yeah, it doesn't look quite right. Yeah.
But it's too off in the distance to really tell.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. So
they get back to wherever they're staying. Depending upon which creature you want to use, picks up on their scent.
Because I'm trying to like double or do the whole investigation part.
Yeah.
What kind of information could the players find? Because I'm trying to like about the creatures, about the cult, about the stones. Because the cult, you could do like city registries or
there's City Hall.
City Hall. If you get in good with the Mormon Church, if we want to go that angle, they keep records on who all their people are. They keep Mormons actually have I believe the church has a specific percentage of tithes. Like I think it's 10%.
Really?
So they keep like immaculate records. So that would be a good way to go find people who are on the outs of the religion, who haven't paid their tithes. They could be cult members.
They could. It could even be like just like the haunting, where you run into certain people that have certain ties with the cult, and they're like, no, I'm not releasing these records to you.
Yeah,
even though maybe you have like the detective type person that has these ties, I'm like, I legally have a right to whatever I'm asking for.
Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah, even though I don't really think that was a thing back in the 20s.
No, that's an extremely recent thing. No.
But he has some sort of in with whatever.
Yeah, even if they get like
some sort of in enough to set up to like red flag.
Yeah, that red flag. Yep. Like, okay,
I'm
you're
like, there's
hiding
something going on here.
Yep.
That's set up.
Yep. Yeah,
And maybe that's why one of these monsters, when they get back to their hotel or their inn or their roadside motel,
whatever.
One of these creatures tries to attack because the cultists send it.
Because the cultists have prayed or communed or whatever, and you have been and the player's been labeled a threat. Yeah. Okay. And so now that would be more of a, you could fight it, but I'm looking at like the stats here, and of course it being Cthulhu, you don't want to.
At the same time, like let's say you get off like, it's like scared of loud noises or something, and somebody gets off like a gunshot. So that is the reason why it goes off. Or you just you find a story reason of halfway throughout the battle, it's like you take somebody down pretty far, or at least scare the crap out of them.
It scares it, yeah.
Enough to, you scare the crap out of the party, obviously.
Oh yeah, because now there's this monster that can pick up a truck.
But something triggers it. Even that would be a good mystery of just all of a sudden this thing has you on the ropes. It's going to kill you. And then it starts
freaking out.
And it just perks up like a dog.
Yeah. And then leaves. Yeah. Factor, maybe go back into the time of day.
Maybe.
You know, to where it's like the time of day, the pillars are a different number. Maybe it's got to do something with like the exact opposite time of day. It's trying to stay away from it or something. Okay. I don't want to make it a nocturnal creature per se, but have that time be significant in some way, you know, to the cult or something. Maybe that's why, you know, it's one of those.
Maybe it's getting close to dawn and they, like, it isn't harmful to them, but they do not want to be out in the light.
Yeah.
Maybe it has a little bit of sunlight sensitivity.
Somewhat of a sunlight sensitivity. Yeah, which is why a vast majority of people don't see them, is because they're
either that or it's proving, if it perks up and leaves, it's proving the cult has control of this thing.
There's control. Yeah, something's controlling it. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
And that leads the party to like start putting, let's say, okay, red flag, we were guaranteed information to get information about so-and-so to unlock the secret of this person or that would lead to this, but we were
going back to the control thing. Maybe that's what the human sacrifices are for. As long as they keep doing human sacrifices, that's the thing. Like this cult, kind of like what is it? Brother of the Wolf. They have that monster that that is killing people at the behest of the cult leader.
Ooh, let's say every time they've made a sacrifice, a new like pillar appears, and by the time the investigators get there, it's a different count still, but so that the new pillars represent how many sacrifices there have been, because every time there's a sacrifice, there's a new pillar appears.
Ooh.
So like if the investigators go there the next day or they go there 2 days later, there's a new pillar.
There's another one. Yeah, it's no longer 9, it's now 10. Oh yeah. Ooh yeah. There we go. I'm liking that. That's really good.
And then you're driving, and then that's the point where they're trying to like collect these clues, and you drive a little bit of that isolation horror that we were talking about. You guys are in an unknown city. The only people that you can trust is yourselves. Yeah,
because the locals don't trust you because you could be causing this.
And the majority of them are Mormon.
Are under the sway of the authorities. Yeah.
Either that or most of these people are innocent, but they are Mormons, and Mormons are a close-knit community.
Yeah, and they're used to being, that's why they went from the East Coast to the West, is they kept getting kicked out and driven out. So yeah, they would be untrusting of.
And if they get a whiff that, oh, you're working for the Catholic Church.
Ooh, yeah, you're definitely here to cause harm.
Yeah, we're not being drove out again. We've made our home here.
This is our home. We will fight for it. And the Mormons have proven that a couple of times, that they'll fight that in history to defend their homes and stuff. Oh yeah, they're.
So if they think that you're here to cause guff,
Yep.
that can cause some tension and some isolation. And that causes a two-front thing of like, oh, you're thinking everybody's in on this. But when in reality,
there's very few.
there's maybe less than a handful of these cultists, maybe like 3 or 4, honestly. Like one political person and at least 3 people that are like somehow have some sort of sway over the city, but not.
Yeah, don't necessarily go the mayor, the chief of police.
No.
Yeah, you don't want to go maybe not don't go that like heavy-handed,
but maybe like like whoever's below the chief or the third below that.
Yeah,
or,
one of the captains or lieutenants that's like really high up,
or the person that's literally in charge of like the clerk of records or whatever that office is.
Yeah, the county clerk or whatever. Yeah.
They are the county.
They
clerk,
are.
So they hold.
Yeah, they aren't the public figure, but they got their finger on the pulse.
And since Mormons keep such meticulous records, they know who they can sacrifice without causing as much of a wave.
Yeah, it's like, or it could be one of those things of they not go the way of the witch hunts, but the witch hunts to where someone's now politically on the out of the church. Well, maybe they get moved up on the list,
If they are Mormons, if like you also want to write an adventure to where you're not attacking a particular religious group.
Yeah, exactly. We're just spitballing ideas here.
Yeah.
That could be something interesting too, to where if they do find a character, an NPC that helps them, the next pillar of salt looks like them. And now they're gone. And now they're gone.
That would be kind of cool. Like the day before the pillar appears and it's
to where you're talking to an NPC and then, they actually do something to help you. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then you leave. And then that's the first hint you get that there's something wrong. That person's dead, is that you go back out to the pillar of salt and you see that kind of looks like them, and then you go back and now that person's gone.
And then if somehow you could drop along, it's like you only have this amount of hours before you can prevent
another one. Yeah.
Like let's say like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Or like 3 hours, even that, or an hour. If you really want to ramp it up.
If you really want to ramp it up, yeah. You've got like
it's like
one more scene before.
So and so who we just interviewed, and then I don't know how we do that along the way, but that's like the main kind of final thing is like you're trying to prevent this sacrifice.
Yeah, you got to save somebody.
And maybe if you can be a good enough game master, it's an NPC that's been actually helpful.
Yes, that's like actually,
and been actually helpful. Pretty good for them. Been good to the party. They've treated them good. They haven't treated them like outsiders. It makes the group.
Yeah, they're like, hey, look, I know you're from the outside, but there's something weird going on here. We need help. Yeah. Like a genuine innocent.
So the group goes to check out that circle again and then sees that person. And then somehow along the adventure we plant, or they push it together, that's like they're the next sacrifice.
They get that idea. Yeah. And
how you get the time frame though, I'm not quite sure, unless they really like Scooby-Doo it.
Well, yeah, but like I said, we're just unless they here we can,
and like unless they like roll like a critical success on some sort of lore dive, especially if it's just like modern, or I guess if it's the 20s, but if it's a modern day and you have laptops. And you deep dive into that, and it's like, there's something here on like the dark web that says, hey, like after one of these appear, they only have X amount of time. And this person just appeared, so we got to guard them the next.
Well, you even have to have them like actively find out the time frame, because if your players are invested enough, if they see that pillar that looks like that character, they should automatically be like, whoa, what happened to that character? And they should make a beeline for that character, unless they're total sociopaths and go, oh, guess he's dead. Hopefully they don't do that.
Even if it's non-sociopaths, we've had people like that.
Yeah, and just go, oh.
There's been a couple of times, even with Tove, where it's like, it's an NPC you should care about, and she's like, because she just don't care. And by no means, Tove is not a sociopath.
No, absolutely
She actually has a very big heart.
Yeah, oh yeah. And so, that could be a thing to where once they see that pillar and they know it's a new one, they should have that drive to be like, whoa, let's go find that character. They go find that character, and then that's how they find that character's been kidnapped or something. Like, they find their place, and there's another investigation or a couple of skill checks there to, like, check their office or their home or whatever, and then they get a clue about where the cult's headquarters is. And
or where their ritual area is.
Yeah, the big ritual area, then that's where the big final standoff is.
Okay.
And instead of fighting the monster, or they fight the monster, but you don't fight the monster to win, you kill the cult leader who's in control of it.
You kill the cult leader,
and
then the monster goes after the cultist.
Yeah, it goes after the cultist because now the one in control of it is no longer there, and now it's going to go after the easiest prey.
Or the thing that it knows I've been controlled.
Yeah, it's like, I've been under your control.
I just wanted to sleep in the lake.
Yeah, it's time to pay the piper. And then you save your guy, or you save your character, and then you back up, and then you have to back off.
And that's when, like, the frog one that I got comes, attacks one of the cultists, and then all of a sudden yours just swoops in and takes another and just goes off into the night.
Ooh, yeah.
And you're like, and then you're just like, there's two of them?
There's two? Yeah.
And that gives them enough guff of like, no, out of here.
Yeah, we got to get the fuck. There's some serious shit going on.
They get going on the road, drop off whoever, unless that NPC wants to go with them for whatever reason.
Unless they're like, they just tried to kill me. I'm out of here. I got it. And then I leave with you.
And the ending scene is them leaving on the highway.
Ooh. Okay. This is good. I like this. This has got a lot of promise.
And that's how you do a game master workshop.
Yeah. And we're just throwing ideas out here. The weird thing is I'm going to go home. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to go to bed. Tomorrow, I'll probably think of something else.
Hey, tabletop gamers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we continue to level up and grow.